I'm Albert Timen. I'm the president of Kapap Academy. A little bit about myself. I'm a veteran of the Israeli Defense Force. I served in a certain unit that I cannot mention the name or the years that I've served, but it's considered to be a special unit that has a special course or a special designation.
My name is Avi Noadia. I was instructor for hand-to-hand in the Israeli Army, in the Israeli Police, and in the Israeli counterterrorism units. I'm into the Kapap. I was the head instructor for the Kapap Federation under Lieutenant Colonel Chaim Pe'er. And today I'm the head instructor for Kapap Academy in the US.
Basically, if we go back in time and we see where Kapap started, it started as a concept in the early 20s, in the beginning of the state of Palestine, before even Israel became a state. Later on, it became a tool of service to the underground or forces that later on became the IDF. And this is how Kapap became a term and took a more shape and with the years on that progressed, also the Kapap progressed, because it wasn't based on one source. Kapap was based much like what we do today, and a lot of knowledge is from a lot of angles of people, of instructors that are coming with different backgrounds. But what puts us together is the common base that we want to explore. It's like a think tank. What is better and what is more relevant today than what was yesterday? If we start to analyze, as I said before, a certain angle, we don't stay with that certain angle and we say this is a definite angle of that approach. We try to attack it from many different angles and to see what is the benefit of the end user after we finish the process of analyzing it. So it can take many shapes and forms and turns and conclusions, but at the end, it started the process, it ended the process, and in between we did evolution, evaluation, and of course a personal opinion or personal background and test. The real test that any technique or any doctrine that we bring to the table has to pass many tests. And I think that the test of reality is to keep all the time to be on to ask the questions, the hard questions, because if we give ourselves the easy answers, everything is out there, everything is possible.
It's only about the Kapap because, like I said many times, once we get enough students that complete the program, I guarantee that you will not see me teaching anymore Kapap, and you'll see that I'm retired and teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's my love. Teach Kendo, that's my love. And Kapap, it's a circumstance. When you live in a country, as the country that I'm born, self-defense became issue, and you cannot teach judo or jiu-jitsu as a sport only. You have all time to keep thinking also about the aspects of self-defense. When you come to the army, you try to create a program that, it's a few moves from judo and a few moves, because you cannot make them really too much professional. And the Kapap, if you check, it's try today to go back to the origin. The origin is judo, jiu-jitsu, karate, Thai box, any martial art that can donate better knowledge to save people's life.
Well, Kapap Academy is just the title. We give the name of the umbrella. Okay, Kapap Academy has a lot of functions today. Well, we started with a small definition of taking the Kapap to the next step, which was in general terms a big and vague description of what we really did. But Kapap Academy is developing the curriculum today. Each and every member of the academy or the cadre of instructors which is involved with Kapap today, there's people that are still in service in Israel which are a part of the association of Kapap. We're just waiting for them to get dismissed from the service and then to take an active role in the civilian life, so we cannot still use them as official members of the Kapap Academy. But as of now, we have myself, we have Avi as an instructor, we have other instructors which are coming from Israel, and serving more and more as helping hands to our effort to promote Kapap. You've seen just a few of them here in the DVD as well. Uri is one of them. He also served in the Israeli and the American military. So he brings different angles of knowledge as well, and basically defines Kapap in many ways. There's no one definition for Kapap Academy.
The Kapap is also about friendship. This is why we call it, it's a family. And this is, it's very tight. We opened only the first level, the level 1, which is a test. I think that in the last 6 years that I teach Kapap, we've been attacked that there's not this system. When people found out there is a system Kapap, and of course, if I want tomorrow to create even a new system, you cannot say because you have a system that there is no another system. Then they try to put bad mouths, but this is the way of martial art. People will put all the time bad rumors. Kapap exists for me as even if I die tomorrow, the Kapap will never stop, because people, I think, like Albert says, it's a spark that it starts, and I don't think nobody can stop it. And I'm happy because now there's 15 different Kapap organizations that I never even met them. Of course, I know that 15 of those organizations bought my DVDs because they repeat on the same technique, and I said, don't study the technique, study the ideas and develop. But by the time people will do it, and some of even our students, they do it, and sometimes I'm impressed because they show me different angles, and that's the Kapap. It's not one person knowledge is absolute, it's everyone bring a knowledge, and now instead of one brain you have 100 brains. That's much stronger as a thinking group.
We think about it as a panorama, how you look at one thing but not with one angle. We try to look at each and everything or topic that we pick up as based on its importance in the ladder of importance. We put it and we start to analyze it, and it started as a concept. First of all, we need to understand that Kapap, Kav Panim El Panim, is a concept. It's an acronym. It's face-to-face combat. And why we choose the name Kapap or Kav Panim El Panim, because that's the original term and original fighting system that was used in Israel since the 20s and up until the 70s, late 70s, and then totally disbanded. And because of the evolution of terminology as well, the Kapap was forgotten, and of course never really forgotten, because there's still people in Israel like Marshall Horowitz that is a live testimony to people that did or were the contributors for the original Kapap.
I think that people that look for real self-defense, that do big mistake, they think that real self-defense is like a mech dojo or mech craft schools. And they think, okay, come on, I teach you the secret. You push here, and here the guy's dying. You push here 15 degrees and here 10 degrees, and then the guy died. Every technique has the explanation, every move has explanation. The real truth, if you study one move, but you study to do it from the wrist, what happens if I hold you here? So you cannot study it as a release. You have to study it more as a drills of how to engage, how to trap, how to do, like we talked with a knife, the guntiks, which are the traps, how to, what is the principle of a choke? Don't try to remember the choke, try to study the principle of the choke. And today we're going to talk, for example, for choke. So you see how we try to develop people to think you can find more chokes, because it's absolutely, to choke you need to push those two arteries and the tube of air. You can do together, you can do separately. So if you understand the principle, you can keep progress. And the way I want things to be done is that the martial art will keep progressive.
We don't try to make anything fancy, don't try to make anything coordinated as 1, 2, 3 like in the movies. We try to take a thing as it is, to test it, live test it, to take, like we've seen before, if we take a Muay Thai technique against a boxing, let's see what works better, but we don't take it as a definite Muay Thai technique or a boxing technique. Just take the skill itself, and we start to apply it I'm sorry, to apply it to a different angle, where it can be used, where it cannot be used, when it can be used, why it should be used over certain other techniques. And these are the questions that arise when you start a thinking process. And if you don't start a thinking process, there you have those dead systems. And Kapap is much alive. Kapap is much alive today as it was in the beginning of Kapap, because it became a need. For us, is a need to all the time come to new results. It cannot be that I can define Kapap today. The best is, you said, okay, we all know the cassette tapes or the 8mm tapes, and now we're going to digital media. Of course, they will both work, because if I'm using old technology in new age, it still works because I have, but it will be wrong to use old technology for the new age. And I think Kapap much evolved along the years because of the people that contributed to the Kapap, and because of the process that we live today. The society changes. A lot of new knowledge is coming from, boundaries are falling, new cultures are taking over. Sometimes new cultures intermix, and then you see a lot of new synthesis of things. And this is why Kapap is very important, because we can evaluate where it came from, we can track the history, we can track the culture of a certain aspect, we can track the reason why it was done like this, we can track why it shouldn't be done like this. And this is the process, again, that Kapap is engaged and involved in, much alive today as it was at the beginning.
I think that, again, you know, like I hear it again, like many times, oh, you will never find in the real fight like mattress. You don't want to fall to the ground on a real fight. I've been in a real fight. And, you know, everyone know when I was young, I challenged everyone. Even now I'm 47, everyone that want to challenge me, I accept the challenge, even if I lose. And I'm happy. I have only problems with Thai boxers, wrestlers, good karate that sparring like Kyokushin, they can give me a hard time, and judo players, and of course Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they can whip the floor with me still. But I'm in a process to prevent it. So for me, it's very funny, we blame those martial arts to be too sport and not reality. I don't know any reality trainer that can fight with those martial arts. So why don't we take our ego aside and say, you know what, you talk about ground, let's go to the ground. Defeat a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you can teach ground or Israeli ground fighting. Before that, watch out, you know. And I think that the traditional martial art and the sport martial art can teach us great things. The only thing that they can break, and they're also giving you explore for a real fight, because how can you really fight? Only when you really spar, getting blood, not too wild, but this is, and that's why we create the sport, because if you poke my eye, I can train more than 2 times. You poke this eye and then this eye, then I'm blind. You have to change me. So that's why we create a sport, that you don't touch here, you don't touch here. Try to win over me in a fair game. If you can do it, of course, if you can poke my eye in the fight, me as a traditional, I can poke your eye as well. So if I know to roll on this mat, trust me, I can roll on a cement. And I just did. I've been in a seminar in Germany, a guy want to suddenly get crazy, and okay, so I spar, we got to the ground. I did the same thing that I do on the mat. I smacked a little bit my knees, but I found and I choked him. So, of course, people, they train well, but we want also to train safe, not crazy. To train in a parking lot and decide that this is the real environment. You know, in a real environment, I will take a stick with a nail and stick it to your head. So what, you want to train with these tools, or you want with a pad tool? So let's be realistic. To be realistic is to stop to be a small kid. I don't want people to come to Kapap because it's the Israeli Special Forces or the most devastating or the Commando One or this, just because this is what they like.
The modern Kapap that we do today resembles a lot in the principles that was used in the old or historical Kapap. And we can see much as today where techniques come from. The historical Kapap was based also on a lot of stick fighting. Lekan, the walking stick, was influencing the Kapap in the early 20s, and the short and the long stick were used as weapons, and why they were used, by whom they were used, where they came from. Those things never got any attention before the modern day Kapap people started asking the questions. And sometimes it's very easy to come to conclusion because there's only one person that led a certain style, and he got the definite answers, and he locked the system, and he put it in a certain way, which is very hard to go and do it in a different way. And if you do it a little bit different, then it's not called the same system. And many people want to keep it a traditional or a very closed curriculum. I think, for our opinion, for Kapap instructors, if you're not asking the questions, you will never come to conclusions. And many people are followers, and I think that Kapap is unique by giving the people the uniqueness of being leaders. We want to lead, we want to ask the questions, we want to make hard questions and to have hard answers. And if we're doing a mistake, we want to make sure that mistake is not then transferred to the next generation. And we want the next generation to ask the questions, because maybe we did everything well for today, but tomorrow is changed. And if I keep it today or tomorrow as I kept it yesterday, it's not relevant anymore. And now I'm failing the next generation of students. And this is the uniqueness of Kapap, that because we have so many people involved now with so much knowledge and around the world, and it's breaking any boundaries that I know of, language, religion, creed. We've been around the world literally, and we've spread the word about Kapap as a concept, not a theory, not a religion, and not politic. We're not involved in any politics. The only thing that we want to explore in Kapap is you bring it to the mat, we test it, and if it passes the test of all the questions, all the process, we'll take it. And we put it more as an addition to what we already do. But if it fails, we cannot accept it. We cannot call it a technique, or still do it, or still teach it, or still give the others that come to our gates or to come to our schools to absorb it and to tell them this is the best, because it's not. And we will lie to ourselves and we'll lie to our students.
Our bigger shock was when we came to the market, that we didn't know that we're dealing with more lunatic people, that or the desire was to dress military uniform. For me, the military was a circumstance. I hate the military. If I could prevent going to the military, I will do it. But it's a circumstance. You're born in a country that this is a part of your culture. And the funny thing is that, you know, I see a lot of weirdo lunatic want to be coming with a camouflage uniform. They look like they land from Iraq or Afghanistan war now. And I said, you know what? My son asked me about the Titanic. Why those guys didn't swim? And I tried to explain to him about hypothermia, what happened when you fall to cold water. He didn't understand, but he was only 5 years old. And those people didn't understand. So I said, you know, you're not 5 years old. Let me explain to you a little bit about hypothermia and how people react under when he's all disoriented, and it's no matter if you do it in a water or in a cold. This is why traditional martial art, we have 4 seasons. And I took them to run on the snow, bare feet, and immediately their leg freeze, immediately they shake, they get a little bit hypothermia, that they couldn't perform anything. So forget the camouflage, you can train with gi, you can train with any, with the shorts. I just came with the California pants, and you start laughing, say to me, okay, change, but you're not going to perform like this. And everyone know that I'm the last official person in the world. Sometimes I teach with a white belt, because everyone are black belts, so I'm the only white belt in the class, so they know I'm the teacher. It's only to separate you, don't get too much into what belt you are. Like when people ask me, what belt are in Kapap? I said, there's no belts. I said, so what is your belt? I said, my belt, I can kick your ass. So they asked me, so what is Joe Machado belt in the Kapap? I said, he can kick my ass. So I said it in a rude way, but why it's so important, the belt? You have something maybe to study from this person, just study it. I studied from a guy in Japan. It was the only person that actually didn't smack me, because it was after a heart attack, was 90 years old. But he explained to me a lot of things with blades. Like when I do this with a shot, they're already getting me. So he said, just go forward and attack. And he started to train me. So if I go wild and smack him, what do you want from a 90 years old? Don't go aggressive on this. But he teach me the secret of the blade. And even now I see many times blade people and see they do this. I know they don't know blade. They just expose the ear. They do this, they already expose themselves and the blade is there instead of in front of enemy. I teach my kid the art of blade. I say, remember one thing, the blade never leave the enemy. So we spar in the house, we joke, like those movies. And my wife comes, she said, I want to play. And we took the sword and my kid fenced with my wife. And she's playing like this. And immediately, he took the center line. So the art of martial art is to teach you the art of sensitivity, center line. All of those drills are in karate, judo, jiu-jitsu. When I started going to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, a friend, Dave Swift, he told me, Avi, look for the center line. I said, well, what do you mean? I'm on the ground like this. Now I start to see martial art is a one thing. But it don't mean that if you understand karate, you know Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And then many times people afraid. They say, Brazilian jiu-jitsu is judo. It's not true. I did judo. It's a completely different game. Don't be afraid to explore the other arts. That's Kapap.
I think Kapap is a spark. Kapap in general is a spark. It's a starter. It's a starter of process. And as I said, Kapap is based on principles of thinking. If you don't use the best muscle in your body, which is the brain, then you're dead. And no matter what you do and what aspect of life you do it, if you're not exploring, if you're not expanding your horizons, if you don't ask yourself the hard questions, because again, as I said before, if you have the answer for everything, then your ultimate knowledge, then you can close everything and you say, I have the ultimate knowledge, I don't need anything more. But then reality comes and strikes you in the face, and what you do then? Then it's too late for you because you didn't ask the question before, and you weren't, I'm sorry to use this terminology, smart enough to do that. But people are getting people, Kapap is building people to think. Kapap is a start, it's a spark. We want to put the information out there to get you really interested in what we have to say. How, and it should strike a nerve in your brain or in your system, which you will ask, am I doing the best thing for myself? Am I capable actually to perform to my expectations? So I think in this place Kapap comes in and gives you not all the answers, but some of the answers that to a certain level, but we don't want to give you the ultimate answers because there's nothing like that. We want to keep you all the time on the edge, keeping the answers, keeping the questions, keeping the process of thinking, keeping the exploration. Kapap is a very smart system in the terms that it makes you smarter if you ask the questions. If you choose to stay stupid or limited with the information, that's your responsibility. And I think that each and every one of us has a personal responsibility to his actions and to the consequences of his actions. So that sums up, I think, that the entire concept of Kapap. The ultimate tool is the brain. I suggest for people to start a learning process is to make the first step. You don't have to step into a school to do that. We have a website. It's www.kapapacademy.com. We have this DVD set that you can purchase through Black Belt magazine. We have the book Kapap Combat Concepts, which give enough material to start. This is the starter kit, and this is something that you want to have it as a reference. Again, it's not the ultimate answer, but it will get you started. And if you want to explore more, you can get into our schools. We have active schools and instructors, which their information is going to be listed in the DVD set. And whenever you have a question or any type of information, you're free to call us and to leave a message, and we'll get back to you with any answer possible at the time.
Now if you see a line from here to here, I'm actually if I push like this, I'm actually pushing the first and second bone. And that's why if I put my finger here, it cannot walk. If you try to walk, it can't walk. Now, if I do a motion of a triangle and I put it up and down, I can take him immediately and balance displacement here. Now, if you take this principle, again, you can use it immediately to self-defense. And for a technique, we didn't find it. It was already been found in every manual book that you go for the history of martial art, no matter if it's 500 years ago, or if it's go like for the most modern CQB, Colonel Applegate, Farben, all of those guys, books of Second World manual books, you'll see that most of they do this, and then they go like for century removal or whatever. And this technique called the mask, if you see, many times they used to do this way, but again, because we talked about the post-conflict, you don't want him to bite you, and you don't want him to mess with his blood. This is why we try to reach him this way and immediately take him out of cover. Now again, if you see like it's the up and down, high and low, so immediately if I do this, I take him out of balance. Is what we call the neck triangles. And you have a lot of neck triangles. You have here, but the most simple one is over here on the trachea. And when you push your finger, mostly if you have one, it's not strong enough, but when you have two, it's immediately take him off. And that's called the nailing technique. And for example, I can take tacks and nail him to the wall. So if I do this, I nail him to the wall. Mostly, for example, for a crowd environment, I'm stuck with him in an elevator. If these are the doors, you don't want to stand like this and give him your back. And again, it's a repositioning. When you stand in front of somebody, you want to be here. You want maybe to have one end up, that if you do something. And once something happens, you want to be controlling him and be here. And again, if you see, I make him go on his toes, and I can take him also down by pushing up and immediately down and bring him to my other tools to hit him. So this is the nail, and the nail is a great tool. And also like this one, and I can say, stop, don't move, don't move. And if you see all I do, I push my fingers that way to his neck. So whenever I come to a fight, don't move, I don't want to hurt you, don't move. Put your hand in the front of your body, that's it. So those basic two techniques, mask and nail, we can apply them in technique and from every position. If the guy go to a half bar, immediately see like where is my finger? Immediately. And sorry, I do it only one time, so like you go to for a bar, and again like you remember all of those. And when you go to the ground, you see I can keep him over here.
Okay, let's talk about release from holds. Holds is kind of simple and not simple. It's kind of like you're in a safe zone, but you're not. So guys that wrestle, grapple, football players have the tendency to bear hug you, take you to the ground, and work the way from the ground. You want to avoid it at all costs, especially if your grappling skills are poor. We're gonna work by one guiding principle, and you'll see how I'm building on that, but that's gotta be your foundation. Keeping your center of gravity low. Now, the good news about a hug or a bear hug is that the guy cannot punch you. Unless he grows a third arm, he cannot punch you. He needs to grab a hold. He cannot hold you with one hand unless he gets you in a weird headlock or something, but to get you in a grappling takedown situation, he has to use both of his arm. Now, Martin's a big guy. He's gonna have a lot of grab. Let's talk about the first importance that I just mentioned is keeping your center of gravity low. Martin is gonna approach to me, hug me, and just lift me up without a problem. I'm about 205, 206. He lifts me up without a problem. Let's try it again. Okay. What I didn't change my weight or anything. I just shifted my center of gravity from being high up here, this is our center of gravity, to being much lower. It's almost like I doubled my weight. There was no way that he could lift somebody like me up by dropping my weight. If you saw it before, he lifted me up, it disconnected me from the ground without a problem. The first thing is a mechanism to avoid the slam, the body slam. As soon as I feel the bear hug, is to drop my weight. Drop my weight also, as you can see, gives me a lot of options and movement with my hands. I kind of even get a chance to squirm my arms underneath him. And whether I'm going for the donkey choke or the donkey kiss, or for the slamming of the groin from here, I got a lot of options, but I gotta lower my level, my center of gravity. If not, in about a split second, I'm gonna find myself slammed in the air and flying in the air and get slammed to the ground. Okay, so two variations and two situations of holding that we're gonna talk about in a second. Let's start and see. I'll demonstrate the technique first, and then I'm gonna go over what I'm doing. Okay? Martin engaged me with a bear hug from the front. Immediately, I drop my hands. Also, if you see wrestlers, there's no way, wrestlers, grapplers, they never throw that. They have to have hip-to-hip contact in order to throw. Martin cannot lift me up in the air. Can you lift me up like this from here? There's no way. He needs to attach his hip, his center of gravity, to my center of gravity, and then lift me up. Now, that's the only way. If I'm preventing from that, I'm doing, remember, we're not in a wrestling match, but that's gotta be my first instinct, to prevent him from throwing me. Almost like a sprawl. Control the upper hand, go for the groin if I need to with both hands. Now, by pulling and pushing, the same elements we talked before, pulling and pushing, extracting my hand out, I can control the head. Let's see from this angle, okay? See that? Let's see the hug from here? Pulling, pushing out. If I rake him on the way out with my elbow, even better. And controlling and having this dynamic tension between his hand. And from there on, whatever works for you. If you want to grab him in a full guillotine and can continue the grappling game, if you want to disconnect and just work your boxing and go away, if you're a Thai boxer, you want to just pummel, get in with the knees, whichever. Really important to create that distance, extract, pull, and push the arm, and do your thing from over there. Okay, same thing for a more vulnerable position. I might be standing here talking to somebody, all of a sudden I feel a tackle from the side. Now, because of this attack is coming from the side, same like in the back, I have to drag my leg backwards in order to stabilize myself. The same thing I would have to do in the side, because otherwise I'm just gonna collapse and he's gonna just fall right on top of me. Same thing applies with center of gravity. Martin can lift me up from here. Can you lift me up? Okay, not a problem. Lift me up from here. That's not gonna work, not even if he does have a good close hip-to-hip center of gravity contact. Very similar to the dragging of the foot and the shooting stance, and checking the hip, getting the arm, push and pull. From here, I create the distance. I pull myself out, and I push my hand, extract it. Some people call it the suitcase. If it helps you remember, kind of like when you're taking luggage in the airport, you lift it up from here, elbow to the face, and again, I'm not in a good position. I want to keep my good relative position. Maybe I'll pivot on the outside. Maybe go for a break, joint, knee, kick, but the same principle apply. I feel this, same thing, lifting my hands up, that is my defense. Okay, give him a hard time. Don't be an easy target. Hit, pull, reposition yourself with the elbow, hit, grab, do whatever you need to do from here. Soon as you got that, you're in a safe zone for a little while. If Martin's gonna tackle me from the side, especially if he comes lifting me up, that's it, I'm done. But this time I'll be flying in the air, he's gonna be all over me on the ground. The worst, most possible scenario that can happen to anybody is getting attacked from the rear. Okay, getting attacked from the rear, you're not ready, you don't have eyes in the back of your head. That attack can come really swiftly and they can finish you up pretty quick if you do not know or not prepared for what you're doing. If you're not prepared, try to stick to the same thing. Remember, it's different weapons, one mindset. Just stick to the basics. and you would have that enough period of time to react and try to counter the attack. He's got the element of surprise. You can see what he cannot, he can see what you cannot. So everything so far looks for his advantage. And what I'm referring to is the rare grab or bear hug. Okay, again, coming from here, Martin's gonna grab me, lift me up without a problem. I'm gonna be on my head, planted in the ground before I know it. The first thing I'm gonna do, same old thing, drop my center of gravity, not completely loose up and sit on the ground, but just drop while I'm still in control. Now lift me up, Martin. It's just not gonna work. You don't believe it? Try it at home. Okay, from here, same like any other grab we did before. Restrain one arm. See, he's dropping me from under. Now, I'm gonna slap the groin with the back of my hand, like in every other strike. I'm gonna slap the groin. Open hand, why not fist? Because this just covers more area. It just covers more, extend my hand as regarding to fist, as opposed to a fist, I cover more space. I tilt my hip to the side almost like a little dance to expose it, because from here it's gonna be really hard to reach his groin. Also from this angle, you'll see I have to kind of tilt to have his groin open. Tilt, low. Now from here, I have high. Now if I cannot break it, I work on both sides. Both sides, and look what I'm doing. I'm replacing my arms, eventually working high on the headbutt level and pivoting out, very similar to a pivot. If you can peel a finger, great. From here, finger towards him, try to snap the finger off. And from there, do your fighting routine, whether you're doing triangles, Kapap, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, or just getting one good straight hand and just getting the hell out of there, okay? So every motion starts with dropping, whether it was from the front, groin, open hand to the groin, extract it out. Side, lower your body, hand, open hand to the groin, tilt. And tilting is very important because I have to extract my arm out and then pivot. And from the back. So from here, drop, groin, groin. Especially if it gets me with two arms, it's gonna be hard for me to strike. If I can go with the headbutt, stomp the toes, grab a finger, pivot out, try to engage the finger, and break contact. Break contact it doesn't mean the fight is over. He might want to still come at you, who knows? But at least I'm not in the inferior position that I started in the first place of being grabbed in a bear hug.
When we talk about Kapap and Kapap as a martial arts, we also have to talk about not only protecting yourself, but also protecting others. The people around you. It could be your girlfriend, your daughter, your wife, your VIP, if you're into VIP protection. So I'll just go over again a couple things and about how to be, in regards to your either loved ones or your VIP when it comes to the whole relation of space of being around and where to be. So here I have my, we'll call her the principal for right now. If she'll turn around, and if we're into VIP protection, I would want to be in a spot where I can best protect her. So the place I want to be in VIP protection is what we call within arm's reach. I just barely have to be where I can touch her so I can get her evacuated in case there is some kind of emergency or a threat poses or whatever. If I take a step back here, it'll take me way too long time to get up there to protect her. And if I'm all the way up here, she'll probably feel me breathing down her neck and she'll feel, crowded, and I'll lose my job in a week. So if I'm working a VIP, I'll probably be within an arm's reach right here in case anything would ever happen. Then I can stay in front of her and protect her. And I'll show that if you can step over here. Right here, if anything would ever happen, I'm going to use what we already talked about, the linear movement. I'll start off first. If a threat poses from the front towards my principal, I'll take a step up and I'll take a step in. Right now, my body is in between the threat and the principal, and I'll probably be wearing body armor, maybe even rifle plates in case something ever happens. 99% of the time, it's enough for me just to come in here and maybe just shield her a little bit from the supposed threat or whatever. Sometimes I might have to evacuate her. Again, I'll show one more time. If I'm back here within arm's reach and there's a threat and somebody comes running towards her, I'm going to go in and I'm going to use the principles that we talked about earlier about the high T and the low T. and I'll just turn it this way right here, and I'll show, again, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna break her balance to spin her around to evacuate out of the thread area. I'm gonna put a palm on her hip, and I'm gonna put a palm strike on her right shoulder, and when I do that at the same time, she'll spin around. And then I'm gonna put my hand up on her head and push her down. Sometimes the principal will be a lot taller than you. You have to put him down so the thread from the back can't really get to them or shoot you. Right now, when the thread came, I got my body armor in between the thread and the principal, and I can walk her out of there, back towards the car, a safe area. Okay, in VIP protection, the first step, or the basic VIP protection, is just me. I'll be what they call the aide in charge, or the team leader, or the private protection officer for the day. I'll be assigned to a principal. The next step, after we're done exercising with just one guy evacuating, it'll be to add a guy. The most logical place to add this guy will be what we call left point. This is an echelon left. We can also do echelon right, and we can add some more people later. What we'll show is just a basic drill on how it works with an echelon left. When I say contact, he'll do a body shift to the right, and he'll put his body in front, directly in front of the VIP, so I can evacuate her. And if anybody would be shooting at her, it would have to go through Uri's body armor before it would get to her, right? So here we go, contact. And I'll simply just spin her around and walk her out of there like we did before, by putting my left hand on her left hip and my right hand on the right shoulder blade, and just spin her around with a palm strike. Let's do it one more time. So we're walking down the street, suddenly we see something, somebody yells, contact! And that's pretty much the basic exercise that you can go to when you get some more people on your detail. Okay, here's what happened. We just got a budget increase. We got one more guy in our formation now. Again, so I got a right point and I got a left point, and basically it'll be the same exercise, but except when I say contact, they'll both do a body shift and they'll screen the protect the principal that way. So here we go. Contact front. And as you can see, right now they're shoulder to shoulder, body armor to body armor. So there's a pretty big screen for me to run away from the potential threat. It'll have to go through these two guys. Rounds or whatever's coming down range has to come through them and my own body armor before I can get to my principal.